Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Shark Source podcast. I'm once again joined by Shaedon Shergill, and we've got sort of a different episode for you today. Last week we did a news episode. I talked about some current news with the Sharks. We talked about current news like the Hossa trade. But this week there hasn't been any news. Really, we're still on Carlson watch, but nothing new there. Skinner hasn't been moved. Panarin doesn't look like he'll be moved. Pacioretty doesn't look like he'll be moved. It's a pretty slow offseason. So we're going to be doing something a little different this episode. Like I said, we're doing projected lineups, and then we're going to do sort of a hypothetical that would never happen, but we're going to do a rankings in a way of cities that if the NHL had to go down by half its teams, what it would look like. So first we're going to start with projected lineups. I'm doing the Sharks. Shaedon's going to do the Oilers. And we're going to start with Shaedon. So Shaedon, tell us, what's the Edmonton Oilers projected lineup? And tell us a little bit about each player in the lineup.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Danny for having me back in here. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. And so for Edmonton, for the first one, I do have Nugent Hopkins on the left wing, McDavid at center, Ratty at the right wing. Now, I believe it was the start of March when Todd McLellan put this line together, and they really had some chemistry going on, so I can't see them splitting up. I think Nugent Hopkins got, 8 goals in a 10-game span with McDavid. Then Ratty had 9 points in 14 games. Now, the thing about Ratty is I believe he's on a 2-way contract, so there is a chance that he can get sent down. But I think by the way the season ended, I do think that line stays. Now, for the second line, I have.
Hold on, I just want to quickly say for Sharks fans who might not know Ratty, in last season he only played 14 games, so that was all he played, but he put up 9 points. And it seems like you can put anyone with McDavid and they'll play great. So, just in case you didn't know, Ratty seems pretty good.
Yeah. Then for the second line, I have Reeder, Draisaitl, or Puljujarvi. Now for Puljujarvi, I think you have to put Puljujarvi in the top 6. You're not going to play him in the bottom 6 with guys like Strome, Kara, Brodziak. I think you play him with Draisaitl and with Reeder, who's also a fellow German who played with Draisaitl in the World Cup. Look out for that line, because I do think that line can score a lot of goals. Because this is the year where Puljujarvi is either going to be called a bust or going to be a great player for the Oilers. If he puts up 40 points, which I think he can, I can really see that line clicking where Reeder can get 40 points and Draisaitl can finally carry his own line. Now, the thing about Reeder is I've seen it a lot of times when he played for Arizona and LA. And fun fact that Reeder was actually drafted by Edmonton. But the thing about Reeder is he's fast. He can penalty kill. He's a versatile player. He can play anywhere. And I do think that with the German connection with Draisaitl, that line can really click. Now for the third line, I have Lucic for one reason, because you have a goal in 41 games. You need to start clicking. You played with McDavid. He did nothing. You're not going to still ice him away from Puljujarvi nor Reeder to play with Draisaitl. So I do think Lucic will play with Strome and Pontus Aberg. Now, Aberg, in his time at Edmonton, he had 8 points in 16 games. So that's just half a point per game. So in my mind, do the math, that's 41 points in 82 games. Now, for Strome, we just entered into a contract, 2 years at $3.1 million per year. I think Strome stays on the third line because I see Strome better as a center than the right winger, because I watch Strome. And the thing about Strome is he's an up and down player. He either has a cold streak or a hot streak, and there's one streak in March where he was phenomenal. And if he plays with a young guy with Aberg or Alberg, and a guy like Lucic who can protect Strome, I can see that third line, just having a good season. I can probably see Strome getting around 40 points, same with Alberg. And the thing about Lucic is he just needs to have a bounce back year, because 34 points for a $6 million player just useless. And once again, you're gonna keep that first line intact, and you're not gonna still ice them away from the young players. So that's what I think the third line is gonna be like. Then for the fourth line, it's like a gritty fourth line. I have Jujhar Khaira, Kyle Brodziak, and Drake Caggiula. All these guys can check. They can penalty kill. Like, it's gonna be a gritty fourth line that can also score goals because I think Caggiula got 13 goals this past season, and he said he's aiming for 20. So I hope Caggiula can put up 20 goals. Then Brodziak is a perfect fourth line center for Edmonton. Because when he was with the Oilers, when he got drafted by Edmonton, he was a fantastic penalty killer. He can win faceoffs, and he's really that type of guy that Edmonton needed. He's like a better Mark Letestu. Then for Khaira, like, the guy had an amazing year last year. He put up 11 goals. He had the most fights on the team. Like, on the year, he had way more than Lucic, which I'm surprised by. And I really think that Khaira's going to take a bigger step up than last year. Like, he's becoming a fan favorite in Edmonton, and it's just an awesome story for Khaira because he's an Indo-Canadian, and the last time we saw one of those guys was, I believe, Manny Malhotra. So, it's a good story for Khaira. Now, for the extras,
hold on, I didn't want to interrupt there, but I love what you said about a fourth line who can penalty kill. As I'm sure most people know, Edmonton had, I think, the worst home penalty kill percentage in the history of the NHL last season. It was barely above 50%. So, it was a complete disaster. So, hopefully for them, they can improve on that. And that fourth line will need to be a big part of that.
They will. And for the extras, now I'm going to get a lot of hate from the fans, but I do have Zach Kassian just as the extra for it. And here's why. I like Kassian. He's fast, like, he's physical, but the thing is, like, I don't really see him being a culture piece anymore because, he's getting paid almost $2 million just to do basically nothing with no point production at all. He had 7 goals, but the thing is, every time he's on a breakaway, he doesn't shoot. He always tries to do some dangle and, like, just shoot the puck. And then on the penalty kill, like, Kassian doesn't block shots, and what he does, like, he's not in the right position. I like Kassian, but I just don't think he's going to bump down a guy like Jujhar Khaira or Drake Caggiula. And that's why I do think possibly there could be a trade for Kassian because, you want to clear up some cap, and there's a lot of guys in the AHL, someone like Brad Malone, that can come up and just do a better job than Kassian with game pay like $650K. So, for Kassian, sure, he does leave out some physicality, but like I said in episode 1 of the podcast, we have guys like Nurse and Khaira to do the job, and there's still Lucic too, so Kassian might be the odd one out in my opinion.
Yeah, well, Sharks fans like myself, we hate Kassian, because he threw a lot of big hits in the Sharks-Oilers series of 2016. And, while we might hate him, that's definitely that's a reason for the Oilers to keep him around. You want a guy that other teams hate. So, even though he might be the extra, I could definitely see him getting some playing time.
Yeah. And I love that hit when he killed Couture.
That was... I was very upset there wasn't a call, especially as a referee myself, seeing him leave his feet. But we won't get into that. On to defense now.
So first line, pairing for defense, I have Klefbom and Larson sticking back together. Like, both these guys, first of all, Larson missed like a 20-game stretch because I think it was during the Christmas break or All-Star break. I can't remember. His father passed away in Edmonton, which, sucks when you lose a family member. But it left a big hole in the defense. Like, and guys had to step up. The Klefbom, like we said last episode, had this shoulder injury, like, all of his career, and he finally got proper surgery, and hopefully he can rebound to form. Nurse, so that's what I think will be the first pair, because it was amazing during the 16-17 season. I just think, since these guys are still young, 24 and 23, I think, they still have water in the grill, so no doubt that's the first pairing for me.
Yep.
And for the second pairing, I have Nurse and Benning. Now, for Nurse, he was arguably our best defenseman last year, and he stole an RFA, and I was kind of scared that we might overpay him by a bit, but he could get Cluck Bomb money like around 4.1, but he could get a bridge deal. I'm not really sure, but I can really see Nurse being a 40-point defenseman, and here's why. He virtually got no power play time at all, like none. But single-handedly on even strength points, he got 21. I'm not saying it will happen, but if he does get put on the second power play unit, who knows what production he might get. So I think he could be a 30-point defenseman in the NHL.
And like you were saying about a bridge deal, he's a restricted free agent now.
Yep.
I think it's in his best interest to take a bridge deal. The reason is, if he is as good as you say he is, he could get a lot more in 2 years than he could right now. So I think a bridge deal would be in his best interest as well as the team's.
Yeah, I think that's what most MC fans would want Nurse to get. Now for Benning, Edmonton was desperate for a right-hand shot defenseman, and Benning is a good top six defenseman, and he did have a decline in sophomore season, but I think he's gonna rise back up because in his first season, he played such a nice style of a game, just like a shutdown defense type of game, where I really like Benning because I think he's like one of my favorite defensemen, and just like Cassian, he's getting paid almost $2 million, and I think he's gonna be our number 4 defenseman because I don't see a veteran like Chris Russell and Andre Secker getting playing time over Benning because I can really see Benning having a great season.
Yep. Again, I'm not too familiar with his style of play. Obviously, he's still he hasn't played 2 seasons. And I honestly, to be honest, I don't follow the Oilers very closely. But I think the Oilers, a lot of their problem comes from depth on defense. Larson, even though they clearly overpaid to get him, he's a good defenseman. But he can't be out there the entire game. They'll need depth on the back end, and hopefully Benning can provide that.
Yeah, and for the third pairing, it's just the veteran line: Chris Russell and Andre Sekera. Now, I have an argument for Sekera. He had that ACL injury at the start of the season, came back late December, but I think we kind of rushed it because when he came back out there, he did not look like his 16-17 self. He was slow, he was making bad plays, and I was surprised to see Andre Sekera on a decline because I forgot how many points he had in 16-17 season, but he had an amazing plus-minus, and he's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, why we went to Game 7 games against the Ducks, because he was just a workhorse out there. Now for Russell, he's not a top 4 defenseman, even though we're paying him like a top 4 defenseman. The thing about Chris Russell is he blocks shots, which is good, but he has no offensive skill on him. He's gonna be that guy who only gets 15 points a season. That's it. For Russell, I guess it's good that we have more depth, but the only thing he does is block shots, and he turns over the puck a lot. So, Russell isn't a good defenseman, and when he first signed his contract last year, he was good, but then last season he just completely fell apart, and he's aging too. So, I just think that's going to be a third pairing because I don't see these guys once again playing over guys like Nurse and Benning when these guys are aging or steadily getting worse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's ridiculous that Russell's being paid $4 million per season. Another one of Chiarelli's bad decisions. If he was getting paid $1 million a year, I'd say fine. That's a great bottom 2 guy for the Oilers. But he's just not good enough to be worth the money that he's getting paid.
And I'm pretty sure that in 2016 when he went to free agency, I think wasn't he asked like for $6 million over like 5 years or something like that?
That was ridiculous, but I think it could have been a negotiating tactic. You ask for more than you actually want, and then you negotiate it down to get what you want. I think that's what it was, because that's ridiculous for anyone, let alone him.
Yeah.
For almost anyone.
So, now for the extras. I have two written down because I couldn't really decide which one was better than the other one. So I have Keegan Lowe and Kevin Gravel. Now, Gravel, we just signed a free agency. I think he was from the Kings, so, he's getting paid $700K, so I think he's just to be like a call-up, kind of like Eric Greiva from last season. He plays a type of style like Eric Greiva. Just plays a solid defensive game, and that's it. That's all I really think. Now, Keegan Lowe, I think, played the final 2 games of the season. He's only 25, I believe. Now, for Keegan Lowe, he's a young defenseman. He's fast, He's a great two-way defenseman, and I do think that Keegan Lowe ends up being our starting defenseman. I'll get to Bear in a sec. I just think he goes the younger option now. Of course, Gravel has more experience, but I do think you want Gravel play more time in the AHL because Gravel only played 80-something AHL games, and Keegan Lowe has enough experience in the AHL playing over 100 games, so I think you just give the shot to Keegan Lowe, hope he develops.
And on to Bear now.
Now, for the goalies, it's pretty obvious who are going to be our goalies. It's going to be Talbot and Koskinen. Now, you put in a description from your last podcast, because I forgot to mention about Talbot getting overplayed in the last few seasons. Like in 16-17, he played over 85 games, which is terrible. So, I'm just going to say again here that Talbot should play around 60 games, while Koskinen should play around 22. That's all I'm going to say about that, but Talbot needs to have a better season.
Yeah, okay, and that's just about, I think, so that's it then, right?
I actually have one more thing. I did this for fun here.
Alright.
Now, for me, just like what Bear and Ratty did at near the end of the season, for late season calls, I have Yamamoto. Like, I think he does need a full year in the AHL to properly develop, but I can see him getting called up around trade deadline day. I think Bear needs more developing because you don't want to rush these prospects because Bear, in my opinion, is going to be a nice second pair defenseman in the NHL. Right shot, he has a hard shot, so you don't want to ruin Bear's developing. I have Caleb Jones, who's the brother of Seth Jones. He did not have a good year in the AHL, but I do think he will rebound and take a similar path that Bear did at the end of last season. I have 3 more. I have Cooper Maruti, who we got his rights from Philadelphia, who's an amazing NCAA player from Michigan State. Also, I think at the end of the season in the AHL, he had 3 points in 3 games, which is a small sample size, but I do think Maruti can be a great bottom 6, top middle 6 forward for Edmonton, maybe in the future. Then I have Tyler Benson. The kid has been dealing with injury issues. He's set to have an amazing shot, and I hope Benson can properly develop into that second round draft pick he was intended to be. Because I'm pretty sure a couple of years before that 2016 draft, he said to be like a top 10 pick, and he fell that much with injury. So, I don't think we should rush Benson, but I hope he develops. And here's one name that I know nobody in the NHL probably heard this guy before, but since I follow both Bakersfield and Edmonton, I know him. Josh Curry. Now, he played the last few seasons in Bakersfield on an AHL contract and put up over 100 AHL points, I believe, in 160-something AHL games.
Wow, that's
he just got signed to his first AHL contract with Edmonton. Now, everybody's saying he could be a dark horse to make the team. I look at Curry, and I think he's a good young forward, but I don't think that Curry should make the team right now. If there's some injury issues, give him a shot, but, once again, I think he might take the Ratty route, but, I'm going to look out for Curry this season because I think he can make a huge step up from the AHL to the NHL.
All right, well, some great stuff from Shaedon. When we're back, I will discuss the Sharks, talking about their roster, and then we'll move on after that. So I'll see you on the other side. And we are back. I'm going to now break down my projected roster for the Sharks. Obviously, for both of these rosters, they're subject to change. Maybe there's a trade mid-season or mid-off-season. Maybe some injury happens in training camp. These are just what I would put as the rosters right now. So let's get right into it. The top line shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I got Tomas Hertl on the left wing, Logan Couture at center, and Timo Meier on the right wing. Hertl had knee injury problems in his early career, and that really stunted his development. But this guy is for real. He's picked it up since his injuries. He really performed, and I think he will be a perfect fit on the top line. I know he can play center, but because I think he deserves more playing time, and because we actually have a logjam of centers, he's going to be left wing on the top line. Next, Couture. This guy is the best player on the Sharks. He's a pure goal scorer, but he can also make plays. He absolutely deserves to be on the top line. He can play center or wing. I have him at center. And then we've got Timo Meier, one of our best prospects, a first-round draft pick. And this guy, I think he will fit in nicely with Couture and Hertl. Couture and Hertl will sort of anchor the line. Meier is definitely the weakest link there, but I think he will develop nicely, and I've loved the way he's played with the Sharks so far. Definitely no more time in the AHL for him.
Speaking about Couture, it might be a bit off topic, but do you think that signing for Couture was a bit of an overpayment, like $8 million per year?
Oh, absolutely not. Couture is 100%. You do whatever you can to keep him, and just like the Kane deal, and just like the Burns deal, just like the Vlasic deal, just like whatever deal Pavelski's going to get, it's going to suck at the end of it. But the Sharks have a window to win, and that's probably, I'd say, the next 5 years or so.
Yep, you have a point.
They have a window to win the Cup, and I think Couture has to be a part of it. So while you don't like the end of that year, if you win one Cup, it's all worth it. So that's why you have to pay him. He's going to get his money, and he deserves it. He's earned it. Next on the second line, this is a line that was only around for part of last season, and I think it was one of the best chemistry in the league. We've got Evander Kane on left wing, Joe Pavelski at center, Jonas Donskoy on right wing. It's no secret that Kane was being wasted in Buffalo. He's never played on a winning team in his life until he joined the Sharks, and it's just amazing what being in a winning culture can do to a player. Kane has really picked up his performance, an absolute steal of a trade, even though we did end up giving up that first-round pick that was conditional. Kane is a part of the Sharks' future. We have him signed long-term. I'm so excited to see what he can do in a full season in teal. Then in center, we have Joe Pavelski. It's no secret Pavelski was not himself last year, but when he was put on a line with Donskoy and Kane, he really started looking like his old self and putting up more points. So I think a full season playing with that line will help. And Donskoy, it seemed like he was sort of going through a sophomore slump in 2017, but last season he's changed that. Donskoy is a permanent part of this team, and again, that line, they just had so much chemistry. I think him, Kane, and Pavelski, I think that will be one of the top scoring second lines in the entire league.
About Kane, too, when I watched that first round between the Sharks and the Ducks, Kane was on fire. He was just unbelievable, and I think it was in Game 1, correct me if I'm wrong, he had a 2-goal game, and, correct. San Jose just changed Evander Kane, and, I think he's going to be a third goal scorer right next to Joe Pavelski.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, the people sort of were wondering how come Kane, he was putting up all these points against the Ducks as the Sharks just absolutely dominated the Ducks. And then he disappeared in the Vegas series, and people were wondering what happened. Well, as it turns out, he was injured. I can't remember the exact injuries, but he was playing injured against Vegas, and one of his injuries was a hand injury, and he injured that hand scoring one of his goals in Game 1 against the Ducks. His hand hit the post, and people could see from the way he was high-fiving his teammates that was his hand was injured. And that wasn't the only thing that was injured, but that's the reason he wasn't himself against Vegas. If he can stay healthy, he is going to be a force. Now, third line. I've got the Milkman, Melker Karlsson, by far the best Karlsson in the NHL,
Awesome.
with Joe Thornton and Marcus Sorensen. Now, Melker Karlsson, he's fast. Probably since Vodker is gone, he's one of the fastest players on the team. And he played last season, at the end of the season, with Eric Fehr and Sorensen. Now, Thornton was out for the back half of last season, and that really hurt the Sharks. It's no secret Thornton isn't what he used to be. He's slow, but our power play went from one of the best in the NHL to average after Thornton left. Thornton's impact on the power play cannot be overstressed. He is this power play. His playmaking ability is still one of the best in the NHL, and I think that can continue if he plays in a reduced role. He won't have to be out as often, but he can still play with good players. Now, Sorensen and Karlsson, they played with Eric Fehr. Eric Fehr is similar to Thornton. While he's nowhere near as good with the playing ability, he's a big guy and he's slow, but he's a good centerman, and that's what Eric Fehr was. Add in Thornton's passing ability, and I think this will be a competent third line.
Karlsson. I have a lot of hate for Karlsson because I went to Game 1 between the Sharks and the Oilers where Vegas blew a 2-0 lead. And I was at the Game 2 and Karlsson just walks on top and just nice one in.
Yeah, that was one of the best moments as a fan of the Sharks. Great call by Randy Hahn. But the Milkman, hopefully he'll be delivering the Sharks to their first Stanley Cup. I hope so. And now on to the fourth line. I got Barclay Goodrow, Chris Tierney, and Kevin Labanc. Goodrow did not play the full season last year, but I think this season will be a full season for Barclay Goodrow. I think Joel Ward is gone. I don't think he'll play another game in the NHL. Jannik Hansen, we have no intention of re-signing, it seems like. Bodker's gone to Ottawa. So Goodrow is finally going to get an opportunity to play, and I think he will do very well. Now, Chris Tierney, I really debated whether or not to put him on the third line because he is a really good center. He had 40 points last season. I talked about it on the last show. He got a new contract, but I think we can basically play our fourth line and third line, give him equal time, and then Tierney won't be wasted because he is a great player, and I think he can continue to be one of the most underrated players in the league. And then Kevin Labanc, I'm really not sure what to make of this guy. You know, some games he is just on fire and can't be stopped, and then some games he'll just disappear and no one knows who he is. So, Kevin Labanc, I still think he has a place on this team, but if he doesn't prove himself, we've got a lot of guys waiting to come up, and now we're going to get to our spares. So by far, our best spare is Dylan Gambrell on forward. We signed him out of college last season. He played a few games, very impressive. I loved him at the Sharks prospect scrimmage. He was by far one of the best players there. And if any of our centers get injured, Gambrell will almost certainly be the guy we're calling up first. Another guy who we just signed who is a spare is Maxim Letunov out of Russia. I'm not exactly sure why we signed him because we already have enough centers. He is waivers exempt, so I feel like he'll probably play for the Barracuda next season. And another spare who will probably also play for the San Jose Barracuda next season, but I could see him playing on the Sharks, is Rudolph Balcers. He went to the AHL All-Star game in Utica as a representative of the Barracuda, and I really liked what I saw from him last year in the AHL.
Well, there's two things. First of all, I love that name, Rudolph Balcers.
Yeah,
and
Latvian.
And secondly, for Kevin Wabank, I think it was around the end of December in the 16-17 season. I remember this because he versed my Oilers. I think they gave Kevin Wabank on the shelf the first one while playing, and he was just fire with I think Padelski and Couture. So
yes.
if you put Kevin Wabank with Couture, I think they can line it up. But once again, I don't think Hurdle. Like you said, I think Hurdle deserves more playing time.
Oh yeah, no, LeBanc, he can play great when he's put with great players, but then sometimes, I remember that game, he had the overtime winner against Edmonton that game.
Yeah.
A very exciting game, but, in other games he just has been disappointing, so that's why I don't think he deserves first line time with Couture as much as Meyer or Hurdle does. But I still think he deserves to start with the Sharks, and if he is going to be kicked out of the lineup, it's got to be him who fails. We're at least giving him a chance. And if that's it, I'm going to now move on to defense. And first defensive pair is Brent Burns and Joachim Ryan. Paul Martin, he's gone. We bought him out, and good riddance. He was absolutely disastrous in our series against Vegas. I think he is solely responsible for multiple of their goals against the Sharks, and it completely baffles me why he was played at all. He's done. But Ryan, we did play him with Burns for a lot of the season, and he looked great. It was his first season where he played a ton of games in the NHL. It might have been his first in the NHL. I think he might have played a couple before that, but I really liked him. I've been watching him for a few years on the Barracuda, and it's just really cool to see a guy go all the way up to the first pair. But him and Burns have great chemistry, and I can't wait to see what they do next season.
I'm pretty sure Ryan also got his first and second NHL goals in the same game against Edmonton.
It's possible. I don't remember the exact game, and the second pair, it's going to be exactly the same. Vlasic and Braun. These have been one of the most underrated defensive pairs in the league. When it comes to shutting down opponents, these guys are second to none. Braun is by far one of the most unheard of players in the league, and yet he is so good on defense. And I also remember him because in 2016 he scored some big goals in the Stanley Cup final. So him and Vlasic, they are solid, and they are not going anywhere.
Yeah, Braun's a really good defenseman. So every time I think that, in my opinion, I do think that Burns and Vlasic should play together, but,
you got to spread the wealth. You can't.
Pardon me?
You got to spread the wealth. You can't, because if they played together, there'd be problems on the other lines. That's my opinion. And finally, we got Brendan Dillon and Dylan DeMello. DeMello, no one thought he was going to be a Shark because they did not tender him a qualifying offer. We let him walk and become an unrestricted free agent. Then he waited a few days, and he ended up re-signing with the Sharks, probably for lower than the qualifying offer. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. I thought he was gone for sure, but it turns out he'll be back. And he looked very mediocre last season. Hopefully he can prove himself. Brendan Dillon has, as always, been very mediocre, and while he's fine, I'm glad to have him on the team. I wish we hadn't given up Jason Demers to get him. But, you can't do anything about that now. And our spare on defense, we have Tim Heed. This is his last season before he becomes an unrestricted free agent. I don't know if other teams know enough about him, really, to offer him contracts, because he's been buried in the AHL. He's been buried in the AHL for most of his career, but I do think he has a spot on the Sharks if anyone goes down to injury. And
I'm pretty sure he's a right-hand shot, right?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where Dylan DeMello is really going to have to fight for his spot. Dylan DeMello, he's probably going to start out on the Sharks, but any wavering, and I could see the Sharks bringing up Heed to replace him. Heed is cheaper, and Heed is older, He's got a bit more experience. I think he could easily replace Dylan DeMella. And in goal, this is where I really have to disagree with what the Sharks are doing. We got Martin Jones, obviously one of the best goalies in the NHL, starting, and I'm fine with that. Here is where the problem is. Aaron Dell is easily the most overrated goalie in the NHL. There is no question. Aaron Dell collapses at any sign of pressure. In one of the Sharks' biggest blown leads of the season was against Ottawa. We had a huge lead, and
4-1?
4-1 lead, and they ended up losing that game. That he also blew a big lead against New York Rangers, two teams the Sharks should have easily defeated. And if they could have... Ottawa, that game was in overtime. If the Sharks had managed to win that game, they would have had home ice against the Ducks. Dell cost us home ice. Dell is... It's outrageous that he still is in the NHL. This guy, the advanced analytics people love this guy. I do not. All of his best games have been against terrible teams. Whenever he plays a competent team, he collapses. Jones was injured for part of the year, and Dell played a lot of games. We are very lucky Jones came back when he did, because Dell was a disaster. What makes it worse is we have one of the best goalies in the AHL in Antoine Bibeau. Bibeau would be a fantastic backup.
Yeah.
I saw he went to the All-Star game in the AHL. He was fantastic. We also, until the end of last season, had Troy Grosnick, who was a fantastic goalie in the AHL. We traded him to Nashville for a sixth, which was a pitiful return for a fantastic goalie who I think could be playing backup in the NHL. But it's no question Bibeau should be a backup. Dell should be in the AHL. But for some reason, the Sharks love Aaron Dell.
One thing about Dell is, I'm pretty sure, I think it was around December, where he had amazing stats, and there's rumors of him getting traded for a big haul, but after that, he just collapsed.
I wish we had traded him. That would have been so fantastic, but we did not. And he had those stats, but they were totally inflated because we started him against terrible teams. And the Sharks are a great team. They have great defense, so they helped him out. They helped him get, they helped him, because save percentage, it's sort of a deceptive stat. Not all shots are equal. The Sharks are good at shutting teams down and making them take weak shots. So Dell's not a good goalie. He shouldn't be in the NHL. But and Grosnick absolutely should. But that's that really for my starting lineup, and that's that for the Oilers starting lineup. So when we get back, we're going to be doing a sort of off-season game, since we don't really have anything else to talk about this off-season. What would happen if the NHL had to contract to 16 teams? Which cities would stay? Which cities would go? That'll be next when we get back. And we are back. So we are now going to do, just like what I said, our what if the NHL had to go down to 16 teams. So how this is going to work is we're going to eliminate 7 teams from the West, 7 teams from the East, not based on how good they are, but based on how good of a hockey market they are, and not just how many hockey fans they have, but also like how good of a market, like for business-wise, population-wise, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go them off in an order like this. So I'll say a team. We'll each say the team that we think deserves to stay the most, and then we'll say why. Then we'll say the team that deserves to stay the least, and we'll say why. So you'll understand it when we get started. So Shaedon, Western Conference, we're starting there. Which team in the Western Conference is most valuable to the NHL?
Well, for me, I think you have to pick a Original Six franchise, and that for me that's Chicago. Once again, Original 16. They have a great history, and at the Blackhawks, there's a lot of complaints. So you definitely need originals. You need all the Original Six teams to stay in.
Yep, 100% agree. That is my pick as well, Chicago. They have a metropolitan area population of almost 10 million people. They're the second largest city in the Western Conference, and I think they, by far, are the most deserving in the West to stay in. At their 2015 Stanley Cup parade, 2 million people were there. That just shows people from Chicago, they love their sports. They love the Blackhawks. A lot of people will say, well, how come they never sold out before they got their star players? Well, most cities don't sell out when they're bad, except for some Canadian cities. But when teams
Edmonton, it was Edmonton was really bad those 10 years, and we still sold out every night.
Yeah, but that's you have to look at these major U.S. cities. They have other sports teams, So they'll just go to their games because they're good. That's just how it works down here. And and also Chicago's a unique case because they had an owner who would not allow their games to be broadcast on TV. That was in the if they were home games, because he wanted people to go buy tickets. And you might think that would increase attendance because the only way people could see the team is by going. But that actually lowers it, because TV is a great way to introduce fans to a team. The reason I became a baseball fan is I turned on the TV and just the A's were on, and I started watching the Oakland A's, and that's how I became an A's fan. And that's how a lot of people become sports fans. That's how a lot of people have become Blackhawks fans since they finally started broadcasting games in the local area. So we can be sure that the Blackhawks are going to be a great draw for years to come. They had the best attendance in the entire NHL last season, even though they were terrible. So you can be sure they are the most valuable. Now, Shaedon, who is the least valuable team in the NHL in the Western Conference?
Without a doubt, Arizona.
Yep. And why? Just say why, even though I'm sure everyone knows.
Attendance, money issues, it might be a dead franchise because once again, no one goes to their games, and we had this discussion last podcast too. But it's just the fans in Arizona. That's really it.
Yeah, no, it's a disaster there. Luckily for them, there is no contracting. We're not going down to 16 teams, and I think eventually Arizona will become a hockey city, because I know a lot of people are going to play there because hockey is one of the easiest sports to play there since it's indoors and not out in the desert heat. So as soon as they start doing better investment into youth hockey, you see Austin Matthews, he's the first, but many more to come from players who played in Arizona. So, but right now they are by far the least valuable in the Western Conference. Okay, now second most valuable in the Western Conference. Who's safe?
Well, I have ordered teams written down, but I didn't write them in order. I just put in alphabetical order.
All right, we'll just pick. Off the top of your head, who's the next most valuable in your opinion?
For me, it's probably either Nashville or LA. I might go with Nashville because we really saw the rise of the fan base in that 2017 playoffs, and they showed that they're a hockey city, so there's no way Nashville's folding now. Yeah,
well, this is where we're going to have a big disagreement, and I'll talk about my opinions on Nashville when I get to them. But for me, the second most valuable is LA. A lot of people, they'll look up, especially if they're not from the country, they'll look up LA's population and say, oh, they only have 3 million people in their city. That's not that big of a city. But you have to look up metropolitan area population. Yeah. LA is a really spread out city. The suburbs are where the people live. There are over 17 million people in the LA metropolitan area. So that is by far the biggest in the Western Conference. Almost double Chicago's metropolitan area size. So that's why I have them as the second most valuable team.
When I said Nashville, I was thinking between LA and my mind. So just a spoiler alert right now, I have LA number 3.
All right, yeah, well, there we go. Now, second least valuable in the NHL. Who do you have who's getting eliminated next?
Now, I have a couple teams in mind. It's hard, but for second valuable,
second least valuable. So who's getting eliminated? Next?
Second least valuable. I'm gonna go with the Colorado Avalanche for this one.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I believe that most of the people there, usually spend their time in the Broncos, which are a football team.
Yeah.
I just feel like every time I watch Colorado play, there's no one at that stadium. Like, it's not as bad as Arizona, but I just feel like there's no fans, and it's just like it looks like a dead arena to me. And obviously you have amazing prospects coming up in McKinnon and Rantanen, but even in the playoffs, I just don't really see Colorado as a great fit as a hockey city.
Yeah.
And I just never understood why they moved from Quebec.
Well, I understand that. I don't think Quebec. Well, I'm sure they love their team. It's a microscopic city. Their metro area is under 1 million people, I think. So Quebec, they're just too small. But Colorado, I think in this 31-team league, they're fine. I don't have them eliminated here. I do have them eliminated at some point. But, they're like most American cities, when they have all 4 major sports, they're the 4th most popular sports team in their area. They're less popular than the Broncos, than the Rockies, than the Nuggets. And, when you're the 4th most popular team, you're not going to sell out when you're bad. And that's the problem with them. But I'll get to them later when I talk about them. My pick right here for second least valuable is Anaheim. Now, Anaheim does get a bad rap for not selling out games, but this is actually sort of false. Especially in the playoffs, people were when they were like, "Oh my God, they're not selling out," even in the second round. But actually, they do sell out. They just have a huge problem in LA of traffic, and Anaheim is one of the worst areas in traffic because there's almost no public transportation to that arena. There is some, but it's pretty bad, and it's all on a highway. You have to get there, and the game started at 5 p.m. Pacific time, so people are still getting out of work. So it's just in a terrible location, that arena. Even though Anaheim has a lot of people, there's no public transportation. But the reason I have them eliminated is there's too many good markets to give LA 2 teams. There are a lot of very passionate Ducks fans, but there's just too many. If we have to cut down the league by 15 teams, Anaheim just doesn't make the cut. Okay, now who is your 3rd most valuable city to the NHL in the Western Conference?
I'm just looking at my thing right now, and like I said before, it's gonna be LA. So
yeah, and why?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just it's like one of those big cities of the U.S. A lot of tourist attraction. I can tell that Kings fans really love their team. They have I don't want to say this, but I guess ever since 2012, the Kings have finally made themselves as not as a dynasty, but as a great team. But and there's a lot of fans that go to their games, and in my opinion, I might get this wrong, but I think most fans in the LA area love the Kings more than the what are they called? Whatever. I'm not talking about basketball, but and there's a lot of celebrities go down there. They're always going to Kings games, and I also went down to the Staples Center one time when I was in LA last March, and it was just an awesome arena. I had a lot of fun there, and the fans are awesome. So I think LA is really valuable to the NHL.
Yep, agreed. And Staples Center, the only arena in the U.S. and Canada to host 3 major professional sports teams: the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Kings.
Lakers.
And the Lakers are definitely more popular than the Kings, but the Clippers, no one really cares about the Clippers. And now we're gonna move on. My 3rd most valuable team in the Western Conference is Minnesota, and Minnesota. The Twin City area is huge. It's growing. There's a lot of businesses there, and the people in Minnesota are crazy about hockey. It's still not as popular as football in Minnesota. The Vikings are still more popular than the Wild, but hockey culture is huge in Minnesota. I went to a hockey camp in Minnesota one time, and most of the people were from Minnesota or the Midwest. They can play outdoors on ponds. Minnesota is actually further north than Toronto, than a lot of Canada. So it's it gets cold there. It gets very cold. They play outdoors. They've got a huge college hockey culture, the college hockey teams. Minnesota Duluth won the national championship. University of Minnesota is very good. St. Cloud State's very good. They've got a lot of college hockey teams. And their high school hockey league is the best high school hockey league in the country. It's the only high school hockey league, really, where they've had players who can become really great NHLers get drafted directly out of the league. Kiefer Bellows played for Edina. He got drafted out of the high school hockey league. And they also have some great private schools. Sidney Crosby went to a private school in Minnesota. I'm blanking on the name right now, but
really?
Yeah. Yes. Before he played in the QMJHL, Sidney Crosby played at a high school in Minnesota. I'm looking up now because because all the people who go there are gonna be pretty upset. But I'm just looking up right here. Hold on. Shattuck St. Mary's. Shattuck St. Mary's. A lot of great players come out of Shattuck St. Mary's, and so they've got just a great hockey culture, and Minnesota's a great place for a hockey team.
Yeah.
All right.
And now we're going to the
third eliminated team. Who's your third team that's getting cut?
Anaheim.
Yep. Yeah. I talked about them. So just say what you think.
Just once again, like he briefly touched on, it's just like the lack of attendance. Now, once again, you said about the traffic. But here's one thing that really made me mad. Game 5, round 2, like 3 minutes left. They're down 3-0. Like,
yeah.
If you're a fan, you might think it's over, but
it was not over.
Me personally, I want to stay for the whole game just because I just love the sport. But it really kind of made me kind of upset when I saw like almost half the minute left. Even though there's still 3 minutes, down 3-0. Like I understand, what were the chances of the Ducks coming back up 3 goals against the young Edmonton team? And we all know what happened, but
you know what? That was the fans' loss. They missed one of the greatest comebacks in Ducks history. So that's their fault. But. It's no secret, the Ducks have a great high school hockey league, the best high school hockey league in California. They're doing great things at the youth hockey program, but they don't have a hockey culture, and that's probably why their fans left early. They thought there was no chance.
But another thing is too, the same thing happened on February 27th against the Edmonton Oilers in Anaheim. It was 5-3. 25 seconds up. Raquel scores, it's 5-4, 8 seconds left, they tie it up, and once again, half the arena was gone, and he missed an amazing overtime, and even though they lost their shootout, it was an entertaining game, even though it brought back a lot of nightmares for me.
Yeah, well,
So, once again, like you said, it's their loss, but, it just, for me, it doesn't seem like the Anaheim Ducks is a good hockey market, and in my opinion, the Ducks probably mostly got popular because of the movies.
Yeah, well, I think also their Cup championship in 2007 had a lot to do with that. But yeah, no, that's why Disney bought the team, because of the success of the movie. But yeah, I mean they don't have the fan support, and that's just the culture of Southern California. They're less hardcore about their sports teams, unless it's a different sport. They're not as hard. They don't care as much about hockey as the rest.
And one more thing that I love, that new alternate jersey they brought back. It. That's a nice jersey in my opinion.
Absolutely hideous. The Ducks.
You don't like it?
The Ducks are stealing San Jose's color. Teal is San Jose's color. The Ducks had a beautiful alternate 2 seasons ago. The same old school logo, but it's orange and gold. They play in Orange County. Of course, it makes perfect sense for them to wear orange. And they had orange and gold. I think those look great. The teal and black. You're never gonna look as cool as the Sharks. Don't even try.
I thought the orange was hideous, so I was happy when they brought back.
So you must not like the Oilers jerseys then.
Oh, I like the old alternate jerseys. These new ones just are ugly. I want a perk.
Yeah, well, okay. Now down to 4th most valuable team in the Western Conference. Who you got?
Minnesota for
Yep.
me.
All right. Anyone want to say anything about it?
3 words: state of hockey, like you mentioned, and like you said, it's not as popular as the Vikings, but they still have amazing fan support. They're really passionate about hockey. Me, I might get hate, but I think it's one of the loudest crowds in the U.S. hockey market, because I'm not going to count Canadian markets where the Jets are going to smoke everybody. But
Yeah.
I like Minnesota. They love their hockey, and I think it's just a great place to put a hockey team in. Maybe they can get a second hockey team. I don't know, but if there's any U.S. city that deserves a second hockey team, I think it should be Minnesota.
Here's why Minnesota and this Twin City area. They have a lot of hockey fans. The reason they won't get a second team is because they already, in a way, have a second team. They love their college team, University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And there's college hockey's big and high school hockey's big. So while they could potentially support a second team, they don't. They already do. So they sell more than a lot of AHL teams do. So that's a lot great to say about Minnesota. I have Vancouver as the next city. Now I will say this: I've been very, very disappointed. Vancouver has not been selling out. They're not like the Edmontons. I think there's just too much to do there to go support a losing hockey team. But they haven't been selling well. But you saw in the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, the whole city shut down. So it seems like they have a lot of bandwagon fans. But the reason I'm keeping them there is they're the third largest Canadian city. It's growing incredibly quickly, and they still do love their team. Just they love them a lot more when they're good.
Just one thing is that no one's gonna agree with me because I will get to my reasons for Vancouver. I don't have them as a valuable team, and I'll get to it soon.
All right. Well, let's wait. I don't want to spoil it then. All right. Yeah. So now the time for the teams you're eliminating. Who's going out as the fourth?
Vancouver.
Ooh. All right. Let's hear it.
Okay, so like you said, there's a lot of things to do in Vancouver because, believe it or not, I'm actually born in Vancouver, but I moved to Edmonton I think 8 years ago, but whatever. That's another story. The thing about Vancouver is, in 2011, a lot of fans, got off the bandwagon, but this is where it made me kind of shocked when they destroyed their whole city over a Game 7, which, it's sad, but their whole city flipping over cars, that's a bit barbaric.
You know what? They were absolutely hammered. Everyone was drinking, and they really thought it was there. I actually think that's a positive. Now, I'm not saying go destroy your city, but I'm saying they care so much about hockey that they're willing to riot over a game. So I think that shows how much of a valuable market they are. But that's just my opinion.
You got a point, but also, I don't know what to say here because I'm just using this for example. I think the first game of the 2013 season, which is 5 years ago, I think they were losing, by a couple goals, and they already started booing, saying the season's already over. It's just after a couple games, when the team starts doing bad, all the fans just don't care about the team anymore, and that's why I don't really think Vancouver, I do think that they're going to be an amazing hockey team with Pedersen and Besser, but right now it just looks like the fans are mad, and, they've been around since the 1970s now. My other argument, won't make a lot of sense, but, once again, they did have a basketball team, and that failed because no one supported it.
Very bad.
What if people stop supporting the Canucks, which, if they continue to be bad and Pedersen's not good and don't live up to their expectations, what's going to happen to the city of Vancouver?
Yeah, well, here's the reason they'll always make a lot of money from TV contracts just because that city's so big. But, I mean, they need to be good because Vancouver doesn't support bad teams. They don't support, and this isn't just hockey, the CFL BC Lions, they have one of the worst attendance in the CFL. Vancouver Whitecaps soccer team had great attendance last season when they were good. This season they're bad. Their attendance is going down. Vancouver does not support bad teams.
Yeah, they don't.
All right, and now to our next 5th team saved. Who you got?
San Jose.
Yep. Why?
The reason why San Jose, it's just that area where, you probably want to chillax and, there's a lot of great fans there. I think in playoff time, they're amazingly loud. They really love their team, And I just really think that Sharks fans are probably one of the best fans in the NHL because every time they get eliminated from the playoffs, they're always optimistic about next year. I just love Sharks fans because once again they're always optimistic about the next year. They care about their team. I do think San Jose is a good hockey market team.
Yep, I have San Jose right here as well. As a Sharks fan, I was lucky enough. I've been to 3 playoff games, including Game 4 against the Ducks last season, where I saw the sweep. The arena is crazy loud. They do great things. They have these light-up wristbands, choreographed light shows. It's crazy. It's such a fun experience. The Shark Head is so cool. I've been able to play high school hockey in the Shark Tank before a Barracuda game. It's a great experience. I love the city, love the fans, and a lot of out-of-towners get it mixed up, but San Jose, it's about an hour south of San Francisco, but the whole Bay Area has 7 million people. That's huge, a huge population. So they definitely can support a team. They've sold out for years. They're not selling out a bit now. They're just under capacity most games, and that's a lot due to the Warriors because a lot of people who are bandwagoners switched over to them, but they still have a ton of great fans who love hockey, and they definitely deserve a team. And now, next team eliminated.
Dallas.
Yep. Wow.
Once again, it's kind of similar to Colorado, like I said, is that, I do think that there are some people out there in Texas or Dallas that really likes the Stars, but the thing is, for me, if you go up to someone and say, hey, name an NHL team, I don't think that no one will say the Stars because for me, they're one of those teams that no one really knows about because, of course they have amazing they have a couple good stars and Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, and then after that there's nobody, and nobody knows who those guys are, and they have a lot of attendance issues, and that's still going on to this day. So, I'm gonna disagree there. I have this. I'll get to the Stars later. I don't have them right here, that's for sure. But I will say about their. You do bring up some valid points. They are the 4th most popular team in their market. So like a lot of cities. So yeah, there's just not a big hockey culture down there. But I'll get to them later. But here, you ready? Here's a piping hot take. I'm gonna get a ton of hate for it. I don't care. So get your iced water ready. I got Winnipeg right here. Winnipeg?
Yeah, here's why. Winnipeg, they have some of the best fans in the NHL. They have some of the most loyal fans in the NHL. They're too small. It's a tiny city. People, half of the population of Manitoba lives in Winnipeg. They sell out every game, but their metro population is one of the lowest in the NHL, under 1 million, close to 800,000. That's too small for an NHL city. There aren't a lot of big companies that bring in money. Winnipeg, Winnipeg is making money just because they're able to charge super high for tickets, but they just can't. They're just not big enough. If this league is shrinking to 16 teams, we just can't afford to have cities whose metro population, so not just the city, but all the surrounding area, is under 1 million. There's some NHL cities with the downtown population 1 million. So as great as their fans are, I just think they're too small.
So now it's back to the ones you can keep. I have Winnipeg.
You have Winnipeg right here. All right, why do you think they should stay?
So first of all, they already had a team taken away. The old Winnipeg Jets that turned to the Phoenix Coyotes, who are also failing. Then they turned to the Atlanta Thrash. Now they went back to Winnipeg. Trust me, there's gonna be a huge riot if the Jets get taken away. But I just don't see Gary Bettman, taking away the team.
Well, none of this is gonna happen. They're not contracting.
Say if the 1% chance of the NHL does go to 16 teams. If it does happen, the reason I don't see Gary Bettman taking away the Jets is because one, Canada will riot if he does take away the Jets, and two, I think the Jets and the Jets fans have shown they're once again the loudest, also the most loyalist fans. Even when they're sucking in 2011, when they got swept in 2015, they stayed to the end, supporting their team, and that's what really stands out to me. Now, of course, 800,000 metropolis, area, that's not good enough, but I have a feeling the Jets would be able to stick around for a while.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree about their fans. They're great. I just think it's too small. But, that's where we disagree. But now, so here where you had the Jets being saved, I have Calgary. Calgary gets a bad rap because of their arena, but they're don't be fooled by their owners. The Flames are not moving at all. There's 0% chance. They're trying to get an arena subsidy from the city government, and the city has seen through this really, this plot, which worked in Edmonton, unfortunately for the city government there, but they're trying to get the money, and that's why they're saying the arena is so bad. The arena's fine. They sell out. During the playoffs, the Red Mile is amazing. They're a big city. They're very valuable for the NHL. A lot of oil money comes from there. That the NHL needs to be in cities with big businesses. Calgary's got a lot of oil, and that's very valuable to the NHL. So that's why I have them staying. And great fans.
Next, worst, we have 2 teams left in each category, I believe, for the West.
So eliminated right here. Who do you got? Who's going?
So there's 2 teams left now. Here, I have St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah? Why?
So for St. Louis, no doubt, they're a great franchise. They have wonderful fans. It's just a thing that, once again, they're not as well known in the state of Missouri because right near St. Louis is Kansas City, where they have the Kansas City Chiefs for football and the Royals for baseball. And I do think most people in St. Louis watch baseball and basketball. Now, once again, I'm not saying that I only watch Blues because they sell out and they're loud, but the thing is, they're not as popular, and no one really kind of pays attention to the hockey season until the playoffs roll around.
Yeah. Well, I gotta agree. I'll talk about this a bit later, but actually, Kansas City is it's not close enough to St. Louis to matter. It's 3 hours, so it's actually further away than Edmonton is to Calgary. But St. Louis is a baseball town. I'll get to it later, but. Right here, I actually forgot to mention them. I think this team is the 3rd team I would get rid of. It's Vegas. I don't know how I forgot to mention them. And the reason is they're just unproven. They had one season where they had great fan support, but they were great. Who knows if they'll be bad or not, And, the city, it's actually a very poor city. People see all these casinos and think it's all this wealth, but the people who actually live there are not very wealthy, who actually live there full time. There's a lot of super rich people, there's a few super rich people, and a lot of middle class to poor people. They can't really support the team, so I had them, but I don't know how I forgot to mention them earlier. I must have skipped a team to eliminate, but Vegas is my 3rd team that would be eliminated.
Okay. Now my 7th
team,
the Heat.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Now I just wanted to say I forgot to mention the team I'm eliminating here, which is 6th, St. Louis, as well as you. The reason is it's a baseball town. The Cardinals are so popular there. They sell out. The Blues sell out now, but they've had attendance troubles when they're bad. And they almost moved to Saskatoon before they got their new arena built. The St. Louis is a great market. They love hockey, but I have them moving just because there's someone has to go, and it's got to be them.
Yeah. 17 the keep in the NHL. I have Edmonton.
Yep. Why?
Okay, first of all, they got a new arena, and second, there's gonna be a lot of, points, as an Edmonton fan, I might feel biased to, but I'm trying not to be. Second thing is, in my opinion, people can disagree with me. I think right behind Winnipeg, Edmonton is either number 2 or number 3 with the top loudest fans in the NHL. Maybe Nashville's number 2. I have no idea, but that's my opinion. Thirdly, like you said about Calgary, no. A lot of the Oilers fans are in Edmonton. That's the main reason why we call ourselves Oil Country. Now, of course, that our owner, who's dumb, said, "Oh, if you don't build a new arena because our old arena, Rexall, was old and stuff like that," they said we'll move to Seattle. And I really think that Edmonton really cares about their team. Now, funny that I brought that up because I think it was a couple of days ago, Patrick Maroon was on another podcast called Spin Chicklets, where he said that he loves Edmonton, he loves the fans, but he said that it's a tough city to play in because it's a tough city to play in because it's a Canadian market, and they really love their team. And when you start going down, you can start hearing the chirps, and I have to agree with him there because Edmonton, if you come down to Edmonton, everybody's talking about the Oilers because they love them, man. No one goes to the Eskimo games. Everybody goes to all those games. They sell it every single time, and we really love our team, but I think we're just a bit too harsh on the players, which kind of makes me sad as a Oilers fan because I don't want these fans or quote unquote fans, because there's some bandwagon fans giving death threats to Patrick Maroon when they boarded Drew Dowd. He got suspended for 2 games. There's a lot of heat on Maroon, and I saw no problem with that because it was a dirty hit, but why are some fans giving death threats? So it's a tough city to play in, and that's why I'm not surprised where some players don't come to Canada because it's a hard market to play in. If you come to Canada, you have to perform well. Otherwise, you're gonna get heated on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hockey is the number 1 game. Obviously, every single city the NHL is in, it's the number 1 game. I would most cities where there's hockey, it's the number 1 game. The only city I can think of in Canada where hockey isn't the most popular sport is Regina, because they really love the Rough Riders football. Yeah. But I have Edmonton here as well, pretty much for the same reasons you have. I mean, they sold out when they were terrible. They've got great fans, incredibly loyal, despite the fact that they have the worst GM in the NHL. And right now, they're wasting the best player in the NHL's career, because they're not surrounding him with talent. But I hopefully for them, they'll become good again because they are. It's just so great seeing them finally have. It was so great, even though it was at the expense of the Sharks. It was great seeing them finally have a good team again. So I really love Edmonton, the Oilers, and I definitely think they'll stay.
And they have in the order we have the best mascot in the NHL.
Oh gee, we won't get into that. The serial killer Lynx, but Next, the final team eliminated from the Western Conference. Who you got? Vegas. Yep. Why?
It's the first year in the NHL, and the thing is that they got great fan support, like you said, but if they're gonna suck, which I think they will soon, no one's gonna show up to their games. It was a waste. It would be a waste of the franchise. Edmonton's gonna look like an idiot. For me, if I had a 31st team, it would have been either Seattle or Houston because those are 2 huge markets. Now, Vegas, Vegas isn't really a hockey market. It's just like Arizona. You're gonna put a random team in the desert where first it's gonna have a lot of support, then it's gonna go downhill, and that's what I've been saying ever since Las Vegas got got officially announced as a team in 2016, right after the playoffs, where it was found at Quebec in Las Vegas, and Edmonton's reason for putting Las Vegas is because Quebec's dollar, the Canadian dollar, doesn't have its value anymore. And I'm like, who cares? Quebec is a better hockey market than Las Vegas, and Vegas is gonna fail probably sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. Then no one's gonna go to their games, and then it will be in the talk of relocating the team somewhere.
Well, I gotta disagree with you there. I haven't gone just because we're cutting them down. I do think there'll be success, and the reason is there's going to be a lot of tourists who go to games. That will, when the team is bad, the tourists will help give the team money. So, while, they won't have much of a home ice advantage, they'll have them home. But here, I want to go to your point about hockey in the desert. In Edmonton, just give me a rough, I don't know if you know this, give me a rough estimate. How many ice rinks are there in Edmonton?
There's a lot of outdoor rinks in Edmonton.
And indoor.
Maybe 150, because there's a lot of kids who go out on their skates. Julio already went out in the outdoor rink and just played with some kids.
Yeah,
so.
No, there's so many lakes and rinks. I know the city of Edmonton, I looked it up, they operate 21. Now, that's just that the city owns. There's plenty of private rinks. They have a rink in a mall. I mean, that's crazy. There's a rink in a mall. The Brick, yeah. There's a rink in a mall. There's outdoor rinks. So the Edmonton metro population is close to 1.5 million, and there's just hundreds of rinks if you include outdoor rinks. Las Vegas has a metro population of 2 million. There are 3 rinks, and I think about 5 or 6 sheets of ice in the entire city.
Really?
In the entire city, there's about 5 or 6 sheets of ice, and that includes suburbs. And Vegas, when they arrived, they added 2. So before the Golden Knights arrived, there were 3 sheets of ice, I believe. I played on them. I've played on 2 of them. They're okay. I mean, they're nothing special. One of them, I don't even think is NHL regulation size. So they're very mediocre. Not much of a hockey culture there. Now, here's who I'm eliminating. I know a lot of people are going to get really upset. I got Nashville going. Here's why. Nashville, before their cup run, they've got really great fans now. I love their chants. I think they're so funny, and they've got a great culture. A lot of people say Winnipeg's the loudest in the world, loudest arena in the NHL. They measured sound by they used like a machine. Nashville currently holds the record. Sound-wise, but the reason I'm having Nashville going is because before they were good, they had really low attendance, and their city isn't that big. It's growing, but they don't have a lot of rinks in Nashville, so not a lot of people play hockey. I feel like if they become bad, their attendance is going to drop back down to one of the lower in the league. So that's why I have them going. All right, last team. Who's the last team that's being saved?
The only team that I haven't mentioned yet is our provincial rival, the Calgary Flames.
Yep.
So, most of the points I'm going to say here is basically you said, they're looking for a new arena with all that Seattle talk at the beginning of the season. And, I don't think they're going to relocate. I don't want Calgary to relocate. Even though I hate them, I despise them, I just love the Battle of Alberta. It's one of the best behind the Boston-Montreal rivalry, one of the best rivalries in the NHL, and I don't think you want to take away a team like Calgary if you have Edmonton. And once again, there's a lot of oil there. They can make a lot of money. The fans are great. The Saddle Dome is an amazing arena because I went in there a couple times. I do think Calgary, needs it. I do think for sure Calgary needs to get a new arena because I think the Saddle Dome has been built forever. So, Calgary definitely needs a new arena, but you're not going to take away Calgary.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, well, I agree. I don't think Calgary's going anywhere. It's, I'm pretty sure that, it's just bluffing to get a new arena, and they definitely deserve it. All right, in the West, my last team saved, Dallas. Here's why. Dallas, they don't fill their arena to 100% capacity, and people see that percent that's under 100, and they're like, what the hell? Why aren't you selling out? You're a pretty good team. You've got Ben and Sagan, some of the best players. Why aren't you selling out? Well, the reason is that arena is actually one of the biggest in the NHL. I think it holds between 19,000 and 20,000.
Yeah.
Which is huge because they share it with the Dallas Mavericks basketball team. The reason I'm picking Dallas is Texas, as the saying, everything's bigger in Texas. Well, population is huge. Dallas-Fort Worth metro area is close to the same size as the Bay Area where the Sharks are, and it's much more compact, unlike the Bay Area, which is kind of spread out. Dallas is still spread out, but Fort Worth and Dallas are close together. Tons of people, tons of companies. Texas, the whole state, because people in Houston, they don't have a team, so there's people there who support Dallas. So that's why I just think Texas is too big for the NHL to leave. So that's my thoughts. We will be right back to do the East. I'm gonna just take a quick break. I will see you guys in a second. And we are back. We're gonna do the Eastern Conference now. So Shaedon, who's the most valuable East team to the NHL? Who's getting saved?
Once again, I'm going to go with Original 16. They're probably one of the most historic franchises in the league. Most cups. Everybody knows this. Montreal.
Yep. Why?
Oh, basically, once again, most historic franchise since 1917. 24 cups. Like, they have such a huge fan base, even though now they're starting to finally know that they're going to try to rebuild around Carey Price, even though that contract's pretty bad. That's all I really have to say about Montreal because, there's no other argument. You can come up with you can try to make up your best argument. There's, the best counter claim is going to be they're historic and they have such a huge fan base, so there's that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I don't have them here, but I'll sort of get into Montreal when I have them up. But I don't think anyone can argue that they shouldn't be saved. So my first team, I've got Toronto. They're the largest city in Canada, largest metropolitan area in Canada. Very huge, and it's not just Toronto, all of Southern Ontario. Maybe the exception of Windsor because some of them like Detroit, but a lot of Southern Ontario, they love the Leafs. They've been terrible for years and still sell out. All the best tickets are given to businesses, and the real fans are stuck up in the cheap seats for tons of money, and they still love the team. And now they're going to be good, and they're just going to be the biggest brand in that city, the biggest team in the country. And if they win a cup, the whole city's going to shut down. It's going to be insane if they win it when they win a cup because they finally got a good team. It's going to happen.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it might happen. I don't know, but I think if the Leafs make it to the finals at some point, I think Habs fans would be okay with it if they win the cup. I don't know really because there hasn't been a Canadian team since '93 that has won the cup, and since 2011 that has made it even close to the cup.
Yeah, and the thing is, I know Leafs fans don't like hearing this, but the Canadians' biggest rivalry is with the Bruins. They haven't played the Leafs in a playoff series since 1979. So you can't say you're a team's biggest rival if you haven't played them. If your last series against them was years before the invention of the internet, it was in the 70s. You can't say you're still the biggest rival. It's the Bruins. Yeah. So but anyway, that's Toronto. Now, who your first team? Who's going down?
I want to say one team or I want to say the other team. It's so hard to pick.
Yeah. Well, who you got?
I think that a couple of years ago, some people wouldn't say this, but now it's pretty obvious it's going to be Ottawa.
Yep. Why?
It's just a lot of things are happening to this team. He didn't sell out even in the third round, which is crazy to begin with. They removed some seeds. The team is losing money. The general manager doesn't know what he's doing. The owner keeps saying, "Oh, we're gonna stay in Ottawa. We're gonna move it." It's a confusing franchise right now. And once again, with all that Carlson talk and with the Hoffman stuff going, that did happen. it's not looking good for the franchise right now. But I still don't think they're gonna get moved because we'll get it out in the winter time. But I just think Ottawa is just like a dead franchise right now because they're losing. They're probably gonna trade Carlson, and they're losing a lot of money. They don't have a good ownership. So
yeah, I have Ottawa here too. I'm going in right here. It is not Melnick's fault. It is the fans' fault. Ottawa has the worst fans in the NHL. Now, I'm not talking about... Actually, I want to rephrase that. The fans who do go are good, but they don't have enough people who care. Melnick, you can say everything you want about how he's a bad owner. He built you guys a team that was one goal away from the Stanley Cup final. They had one of the best runs in the playoffs, and they didn't sell out multiple games. Game 6, round 3, did not sell out. There's no excuse. Arizona sold out semifinal games. Florida, they didn't sell out one game in 2016, and people were all over them, even though they sold out the rest of those playoff games. And, Ottawa, it's the fans. It's not the owner. It's the fans. Not enough people care about the Senators. And you can say about the arena being in the suburbs all you want. There are a lot of people drive in cars to get to places. That's how things work. If you really loved your team, you'd drive out and support them. It's just they are not a good hockey market. I have Ottawa getting eliminated right away. They were a good team, and no one cared. Right.
Hey, next volleyball, Toronto.
Yep, and why?
Once again, it's an amazing fan base, even though there are some fans that are kind of dumb that says Matthews is better than McDavid and all that stuff.
Stupid.
But it's just an amazing. It's a good fan base. They have an amazing team. Another original 6 team. They have a good young core that could win the Stanley Cup very soon. And it's like their team. Like no one goes to the Blue Jays game. There's actually a lot of people that go to the Raptors games, but the Leafs are Toronto's team, and I think most of Ontario loves the Leafs, and
most of Canada. Yeah, I think pretty much. They're more, even though Montreal's closer. I think most of Atlantic Canada supports the Leafs. They're about the Growlers, the ECHL team, are an affiliate of the Leafs. I know the St. John's Leafs were big in Atlantic Canada. So, yeah, they're definitely the biggest, And all the other sports teams, it's bandwagoning. I'll say that. The Blue Jays it was an amazing story in baseball when they were good. Now they don't sell out because they're bad. Total bandwagoners when it comes to baseball. I'm sure the Raptors, it'll be the same thing. As soon as they're bad again, they'll be abandoned. The Leafs, they love the Leafs. They haven't abandoned them. Yeah, they're great. All right, I got New York Rangers. Biggest city in the NHL, not even close. They're metropolitan area. In the city alone, so this is not counting any suburbs, just the 5 boroughs, 12 million people. Just city alone, that's bigger than, I think, every other NHL city. And now if you include the suburbs, include northern New Jersey, include Westchester, that sort of thing, and include parts of Long Island, that's 20 million people. That's absolutely massive. And the Rangers are the biggest team there. They sell out Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Forbes listed them as the most valuable team in the NHL. That's due to their TV contract, because Madison Square Garden has their own TV network, so they make a ton of money off of that. So yeah, it's there. I have them next, and it's no question.
And I think that it's a fun fact when Buffalo and New York played in the Winter Classic. Even though the arena was right outside Madison Square Garden, it listed Buffalo as the home team because there's a contract with the Rangers and MSD saying that every home game must be played at Madison Square Garden. So that's a fun fact for you.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. A lot of Islanders fans were saying they should have hosted it because Queens is technically on Long Island. But, more people in Queens, I'm sure, are Rangers fans. And, yeah, it was a Rangers home game. The NHL can say it was Buffalo's all they want. that was because the tax exemption. It was Rangers home game.
One more thing that, okay, maybe we can get into this next podcast whenever that is, but I just think that the Rangers and all those teams are done for the Winter Classic. Maybe put the rising teams in there, like in the Winter Classic. Now, I'm not talking about Toronto because they've been in it a lot of times.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to Winter Classic. But yeah, I mean, we know the whole thing's a joke. Now, it was good. Here's the thing. I think they just got to go down to one per year. Winter Classic and one Heritage Classic for the Canadian teams. And that's it. No more Stadium Series. No more NHL 100 Classic. You know, even though there was...
Wasn't it just 2 years ago, too, when Pittsburgh and Philly were in the Stadium Series? Why did you do it again 2 years ago? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's stupid. One per year in U.S., one per year in Canada. That's all they need. But we'll keep going. Now, second team eliminated. Who you got? Florida? Why?
Like, the thing is now, I do think there's a lot of money issues going on with Florida. Like, there's not a lot of fans that go to their team, like, to their games, and, you know, they kind of like board the ship when the team starts doing good, because in that 15-16 season, I think they had a 10 or 11 game win streak. Everybody started jumping on the bandwagon. They made the playoffs. Lost in 6 to the Islanders, which, to me, John Tavares just carried the Islanders in that series.
And Trocheck was tripped.
Just that, you know, Florida, there's not much to say about this franchise because, once again, like I said, money issues, attendance issues. Like, you know, there's not much to do with this franchise, and I don't know where you relocate them to, because, you know, I do think that there's a good amount of fans that, you know, live in South Florida that cares about the team. They just don't go to the team, kind of like Ottawa.
I'll say why. The BB&T Center is one of 3 NHL arenas I've been to, and it's one of 2 that I've seen an NHL game at. I was at Air Canada Center, but I saw World Cup of Hockey, not an NHL game. But BB&T Center, I flew into Miami International Airport. It's a 45-minute drive, and there's traffic. Their arena is in Sunrise, Florida, which is right next to this mall and right next to swamps, and that's it. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's closer to Fort Lauderdale than it is to Miami. There's no people around. And also the team has been bad forever. I mean, 1996 was the last time they were good. 2016 they won their division, and then in a fluke they lost to the Islanders. Trocheck had a wide open empty net, was tripped, no call, but we won't get into that. You got to move it. Someone's got to go. It's them. All right. Who's saved next?
Actually, one more thing. Speaking about the mall, I'm pretty sure the Hartford Whalers played in the mall. I'm pretty sure, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, they don't play in a mall. They're next to a mall.
And also Florida, I'm pretty sure, and the NHLPA voted Florida as one of the worst NHL arenas with the worst sites.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. All right, who's third team saved?
I have 3 teams in mind. They're all original 6 teams, so I'm gonna go with the Rangers.
Yep.
For number 3.
I already sort of went into it. This is getting a bit long, so I think we'll from now on just keep it brief and keep it moving. So I have Montreal here, and you basically said all my reasons. Third eliminated, I got Carolina. Who you got?
Yeah, Carolina too.
Yep, sort of same reasons. No attendance. Next saved, I got Boston.
Yeah, Boston also.
Yep. Next eliminated, I got New York Islanders.
Same here.
Yep, I got Detroit saved next.
Same.
And I got New Jersey eliminated.
Same.
Okay, wow, we've been in sync this whole time. Alright, next saved, I got Washington.
Number 8, I'm sorry, not number 8, number 7, I bought...
6.
Actually, no, I have Pittsburgh, actually.
Alright, you got Pittsburgh? Alright, when I get to Pittsburgh, I'll explain this, because I next eliminated, I got Columbus.
I have Philly.
Alright, next saved, I have Philly.
I have Washington.
Next eliminated, I have Tampa.
Next eliminated, I have Tampa, yeah.
Yep. Next saved. There's 2 left for me, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. I'm saving Buffalo. I'm eliminating Pittsburgh. Here's why. Buffalo, if you look at TV ratings, Buffalo, who had the worst team in the NHL, had the second best ratings in the playoffs of the U.S. market last season. The only city that had higher ratings was Pittsburgh. The reason I'm eliminating Pittsburgh and saving Buffalo is Buffalo, with a terrible team, still loves hockey. Pittsburgh, they've never, ever had good attendance when their team was bad. They've been one of the most successful teams in NHL history. When they had Lemieux, they sold out. When they had Crosby, they sold out. But, when he goes, I don't think they'll be as good of a team. You look at the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball team. They have one of the best. They have, I think, most people would say it's the best stadium in all of baseball. They don't sell out, And now, I do think Pittsburgh now has developed a pretty good hockey culture, and I don't want them relocated in real life. But if we were cutting down to 16 teams, I got Pittsburgh going.
Okay, now for me, I have to agree with you here. I do have Buffalo staying.
And who you got going?
But the thing for Buffalo me too is that even though they're going to be good in the future and they care about their hockey, I think that being them right next to Toronto, Leafs fans can come down watching their Leafs can really help the team too financially. But I have going is you already said the team before Columbus.
All right, and so then that's that then.
That was long.
That is a long show, but hey, it's the off season. It happens. We don't have much to talk about, so we got to do a little interesting exercises. I'm sure you disagree, so leave your opinions. Which city should be saved, which should not, and talk about starting lineups. I know that's where we started, and we'll do another podcast. I'm trying to make this a weekly thing, but if there's no news, I'm not going to release a new episode. So I'm
actually checking Twitter right now to see if there's any news.
No news. So I'm pretty sure that's it. So we'll see.
If there is anything, we can just do a quick Skype call, maybe. Just, talk about it.
We'll if there's new news, that'll go in the next podcast. But thank you for listening. Please follow me on Instagram at SharkSource for the latest updates. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on the SoundCloud. And Shaedon's information will be linked in the description at Shaedon Shergill on Instagram. I'll have his YouTube in the description. He's got great videos. He did a prediction video. I'll link that in the description. You should definitely check that out. And I'll see you guys all later. Bye.